my friends, good to see you. Let's talk about the square between Venus and Jupiter today in synastry chart comparison. So Jupiter is where we are expansive, larger than life, exaggerated, sometimes overblown, full of hot air. It's where we have hope, levity, we get ourselves up off the ground. And so Jupiter tends to be a response of great giving, generosity, laughter. It's a very jovial, happy emotion. And so when the Jupiter person is in the presence of the Venus person, they tend to be very grand in their responses, even exaggerated, or more extroverted in how they present themselves. And the Venus person can find this to be a very interesting behavior because we tend to notice it as the Venus person. And many times people will interpret the Jupiter person as somebody who may require something more of them. Like the Venus person will themselves have to meet the Jupiter person where they are in their excitement or their responses or their emotions. So the Venus person, if we have a more conservative Venus or a Venus where the expression, the overt expression of love or devotion is a bit more difficult or even uncomfortable for us, it could be an interesting square because the Venus person could feel that the Jupiter person is going to want some things from them or some responses from them that may not be natural to them. But in the very beginning of the relationship, the Jupiter person does tend to be very ardent in how they express their affection, their openness, their appreciation towards the Venus person. And over the course of time, this can be a harmless square to deal with. It doesn't tend to have the same effect of a Venus-Neptune square, where it also comes with a big amount of expectation or agenda. This is Teddy. This is my grandson. I have a few grandchildren around here. So the Venus person can find the Jupiter person to be of value to them. They can feel like the Jupiter person cares for them, expresses that to them, and the Venus person can in turn feel affection for the Jupiter person. So the two of us have a good chance of really liking each other with this particular square. And we may find that we share a lot of the same values. So we can have a pretty good meeting of affections with the square. If the Venus person themselves is a romantic, that's really going to help. But again, a more conservative attitude can sometimes have the Venus person feeling that they're just maybe more in the dealing with the Jupiter person than they want to put into that. Most people are fine with this particular square, and over the course of time, it is something that could be quite harmless, that exaggeration in how the Jupiter person will express themselves, and the Venus person may not always have that same level of return, but it doesn't mean that we don't have good amounts of affection or values. There's some really good things that can come from the square. And it can be harder to back down from the beginning of the relationship where we have had that real outpouring of affection or invitation to engage in more. And when things settle down, there could still be a bit of that effervescence, but the two of us may realize we got off to a bang, but we may not have the fuel to continue to go at that speed. So it isn't like a Neptune square again where we can like go off a cliff. It's more like we just kind of come back down to earth and realize that we probably can't continue on that high of octane for the long term. It doesn't come with like a toxic disappointment. It's more of a mild deflation. And sometimes for a lot of people with the square, it can actually be a welcome deflation. It's like, oh, that was exhausting, or well, that was like a roller coaster. I'm glad to simmer down to something a bit more of a normal pace. So it isn't something that, for the most part, for most people, is going to be a bad square to experience. There is the kindness and the generosity and the liking each other that we associate with all of the aspects between Venus and Jupiter. So it's a fine square if you've got it, and usually not much to worry about. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Patreon if you'd like to support my channel. My new website comes out next January, well, this coming January. It's right around the corner, actually, January 2022. That happened fast. It seems like it was just January 2021 a few minutes ago. Life is moving right along. So check out my website if you'd like to access more content. I have about 4 courses going on right now, and those will continue going on through 2022. So check me out over there, and I'll be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.